Kicking back on this summer breeze. Welcome to Double K's Classroom. Class is officially in session.
The following Four Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Hello, hello, hello. What is up, y'all? It's Double K here, watching a little Sports Center. Sorry, y'all, for noise there at that time. I am here to discuss with you some things that are on my mind in this week's edition of Double K's Classroom. As is most editions of Double K's Classroom, I'm here to discuss with you what is on my mind. No, this week I'm here to talk a little bit about March Madness. First, we're going to start out in Chapel Hill, or not Chapel Hill, but Duke at Duke University with basically the best player in all of college basketball right now, and that is Zion Williamson, who busted through a sneaker and ended up with a grade 1 knee sprain that may alter Duke's positioning in the NCAA tournament. Right now, they're stacked at number one in the top 25, and they are slated as the second number one seed in the tournament. So I think that I was watching a stat on ESPN's Get Up the other day where they talked about the fact that Duke has won like four of their five of Coach Krzyzewski's five national championships with them out of the one position. So it is pretty important for them to get that one position, but I think that at worst they'll fall to the fourth one where Gonzaga currently sits. Duke is projected to finish 27-4, so they're projected to go 3-1 or 4-1 over the next few matchups or over the next few weeks leading into the ACC tournament, where they are expected to probably face North Carolina again in the championship. This is storied rivalry that I can't wait to see what happens. I truly can't. The Pac-12 is on. Let's see. They have what? They have no team in the top five, in the top 25. The Pac-12 only has. Wow. There's literally no team in the top 25 from the Pac-12 right now. None. There's a West Coast team, Gonzaga, who normally is up there. But wow, like no, there's Washington gets got her vote to be in the got some votes to be in the top 25, but there is not a solid Pac-12 team in the top 25, and that kind of disappoints. But that doesn't mean that there won't be a top Pac-12 team to make the tournament. That just means that there's not one that's in the top 25 right now. Uh, it's a matchup that it's something that I don't think there's been a year in recent memory. I can't say ever in my life, but I know in recent memory in which a Pac-12 team didn't make the tournament. So I doubt this will be another year. Whoever wins the Pac-12 championship, I believe, gets an automatic bid. So we'll see what happens with that. The thing that come out of the Zion Williamson injury is that the league is now discussing, the NBA is now discussing doing away with the one and done rule, which is something that I don't know how I feel about it. I like the idea of forcing kids to go to college. Yes, it risks them hurting themselves, but I think it provides them with the tools to be able to take care of themselves, even if they do hurt themselves. Money doesn't solve everything, and if you blow your knee out and you have no other skills because you don't know how to do anything else because you were never taught how to do anything else, it's going to be a tough life for you. Let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that. It's going to be a tough life for you. So I think inspiring children or pushing them in a direction to send them to to go to send them and make them go and get an education doesn't seem like a bad thing to me. But evidently, the NBA and everybody who knows basketball a lot better than I do says that it is. That kids should have at least the opportunity, which I do agree. But I agree with going a different way. I agree with going to the angle of um, paying student athletes a certain percentage, especially, and it's based off of what having you at the school brings to the school. If you're the reason why we, yeah, you can't pinpoint, okay, this person is the reason why we packed the thing. But if last year we weren't packing the stadium and this year we are packing the stadium and we have this kid, then you have to come to a certain assumption that the kid had something to do with why we're making money. Therefore, he should be cut in on a certain amount of the money that's made by the school. And people say, oh, well, he is because he gets the scholarship and da da da. But nah, they need to be paid a stipend, something. And the stipend can be based on your role with the team. If you're a starter, you get a higher stipend than if you're a bench player. And yes, that's decided by coach. And yes, let's hope that coaches don't make decisions based off of who they want to get paid and who they don't. But basically, based off of who is the top five to and the best to be able to give you an opportunity to get a win. That's something to think about. That's just something to think about. My last subject on this one is the potential winners of the tournament. As I look through the potential number one seeds, and I believe that the winner of the tournament will come out of these top 16, starting with Virginia, then Duke, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Houston, Michigan State, North Carolina, Tennessee, Michigan, Kansas, LSU, Marquette, Buffalo, Purdue, Florida State, and Kansas State. I can see Michigan, North Carolina, Gonzaga, and either Duke or Virginia making it to the Final Four. I see at least one to or two to three of the top four teams, or at least two of the top number one seeds being knocked off before the Final Four. Um, so yeah, Virginia. Let's say Virginia, Gonzaga, North Carolina, and Michigan. That'd be two number twos and two number ones. And I think if you really want to boil it down, I think your most likely winner out of those four would most likely be Virginia. Um, but I believe Michigan and North Carolina definitely has a claim. Sorry about that. But that's it for NCAA talk. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna talk about the LeBron mythos and or my thoughts on that, the LeBron myth, and then we'll come back and talk some spring training. You're listening to Double K's Classroom right here on the 4 Aces Presents Radio Network on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
Hey listener, Dutch here from Voice from the Underground, the podcast. My co-host and I want to invite you to check out our little corner of the podcast verse. At Voice from the Underground, we talk about all the crazy happening around us and try to make a little bit of sense out of the nonsense with little to no results. If the idea of hearing three semi-intelligent, outspoken nerds talk about politics, social issues, current events, sports, movies, pretty much anything that we decide to talk about because, well, it's our show, appeals to you, grab your shovel and come on down to the underground, and then consult a qualified psychotherapist. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, just not where you buy your weed.
Voice from the Underground.
Tune in, folks. It's now time for Double K's Lesson of the Day.
All right, y'all. So it's simple like this. I said I'm going to talk about the myth of LeBron James. And I'm not saying that LeBron James is not an amazing basketball player. He's not the best basketball player in the world, which he is. I'm not saying that LeBron isn't a specimen and a half when it comes to being an athlete. But here's the issue that I have. I've said this before, and I will say this again. I have issues with his fan base. His fan base literally makes no sense. They don't. I had a conversation in which I legitimately critiqued LeBron about the killer instinct, talking about off of his quote about being activated now and so on and so forth. And he's activating his playoff mode a little early, blah, 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 blah. Bro, you went to a team that you knew needed you to be at your best to reach the playoffs, and you're just now activating yourself. It's a joke. I'm sorry. Like, it speaks to your heart. It speaks to your desire. I understand that you was out for 18 games. That nobody's denying you that. But like, real talk, man, like, this team needs you. And yeah, you may make the spectacular run and come back and end up making the playoffs as an 8 or a 7 seed. But at the end of the day, man, you're playing yourself. Like, there was not a need for you to put this team through that type of stress. All you have to do is be the best version of you possible. And that team makes the playoffs, possibly even as a top 5, top 4 seed. But now they're hoping that y'all can get it together enough to end up being a 7 seed or a 6 seed, or might miss the playoffs at all. There's a pretty good chance you miss the playoffs altogether. This myth that you can turn it on and turn it off, I've always said it was a myth. I've said that yes, there are some players that slack off during the regular season and then they focus, they lock down during the playoffs, and that's what helps them perform better in the playoffs. Rondo is one of them. But at the end of the day, man, I do not think that there's some mythological switch that they turn, that they become this better player. If LeBron wants to say he's more focused, then why haven't you been focused from day one? But to get back to the conversation with the LeBron fan, he basically tried every possible way to say that I was saying that Kobe and Jordan were better than LeBron. Never said that. Not that Jordan isn't. He is my GOAT. But that Kobe and LeBron, or Kobe and Jordan are better than LeBron, which I didn't. I just said they hold a killer instinct that LeBron James doesn't have, and that quote was a prime example of that. Jordan, you would never hear Kobe or Jordan talking about, oh, I'm about to lock in now, you better watch out, because they were always, at least to their best extent, locked in. They never weren't locked in. So it was kind of hard for them to all of a sudden turn a flip, because they never were not locked in. But LeBron got to turn it on for now so that they can make sure that they make the playoffs. You ain't winning a championship this year, so what's the purpose of making the playoffs? Whenever you run into the Warriors, first round, second round, third round, you're losing to the Warriors and you're going home. That's been it for me for my lesson of the day for today. I'm going to play a couple more podcast promos, and we'll come back and talk a little bit of spring training before I call it a night here. Thank you for listening in. Double K's Classroom, Spreaker.com/presents.
Man brain. You know you want it. You know you need it. Let me introduce you to our team of audio professionals, 100% committed to giving you the greatest extreme comedy podcast of all time.
What's SPH? I'm so super cute.
Send me your orgasmic release videos.
You can get it rootin', you can get it tootin', you can get it doing doughies in your yeet. Mi nombre es Tío Yeti. And you just laugh at little Hank. I ain't gonna pretend I is fresh, but looks like you might like that.
And most importantly, I'm Skullfucker. Rah! Go to manbrainpodcast.com to get orally violated. Manbrain out.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
Alright, y'all, during that commercial break, I just kind of realized my head's pounding and I can't really do this right now, but thank you for listening in. Be sure to tune in a couple of weeks. I'll talk some baseball, etc. Like I said, tune in this Sunday. Now versus Then is doing their big episode where the Saint and I forgot his co-host name. They're going to be interviewing the Loonies, so be sure to listen in to that. And I'll catch y'all next week. Catch Planet of Cold tomorrow morning, hopefully, and Mr. Deacon tomorrow night. Peace.